Welcome to Panasonic Presents here at NAB 2019. For this session, we're going to be talking to Andrew Davis, who is the technical director of the TED Theater in New York City. And we're going to be talking about CineLive. So we have Barry Russo, who is the cinema development manager for Panasonic. He is a 28-year ICG member, and he's a recent ASC associate member. So just going to ask you, I'm just going to open it up with, what do you guys do at the TED Theater in New York?
Oh, that's a great question. The TED Theater in New York is about a 185-person theater that is in our U.S. headquarters. So it occupies the 11th, 12th floor of a large building in Lower Manhattan. And what we do there are a number of different types of events, but the main type of events that we do in the TED Theater are something that are called the TED Salons. So the idea is that they take a small little slice of a TED conference, as opposed to something that's spread out over several days with 20 or 30 speakers. We do a one-night engagement with 4 or 5 speakers. So it's basically a mini TED conference, one night only in New York.
Okay. So you guys recently implemented 3 VariCam LTs, and so you did a little shootout, and so maybe Barry, why don't you talk a little bit about the shootout?
Well, it was interesting. They actually called our 800 number, and I immediately got a response from marketing saying, "Hey, TED Talks wants to see your cameras. We contacted you. We came running down the cameras." And I said, "Wow, this is a shootout."
Yeah.
And I want to see what cameras we had. We had a number of cameras there, and we set them up and shot some different scenes, different scenarios, played with the lighting, and then, but actually, they realized they wanted CineLive, not just, not knowing the products that well. So I got a call the following Monday. It was just like Friday?
Yeah.
Following Monday, "Hey, you got one of those RCP controllers where we can do, live thing?" And it was a holiday. I actually made it from New Jersey to your place in 20 minutes. Like, how'd you get here so fast? I just magically appeared. We set it up, went into the control room, we configured it instantly, and we started shading, and it just went very smoothly. And I think one thing we noticed with the VariCam was the low light sensitivity. We had much lower light levels, which is much more comfortable for the environment.
Absolutely.
And the other cameras, they needed much more light to look good. They could look good, but they needed significantly more light. And I think the choice of lenses, it actually made it more flexible. I don't know what lenses you ended up with.
We ended up with a number of Canon cinema lenses.
Were they fast lenses, or were they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Very much so. Yeah. We have a 30-300 that's kind of used for our camera one close-up shot. It's a beautiful lens, and then the other 2 lenses that we're using are the 17-120.
Those are like a 2.8.
They're a 2.8. Right? They're all pretty fast lenses.
What is the big one? How fast is that?
There's a 2.4.
It's a 2.4. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
we
fast.
generally find ourselves, really depending on the scene that we have and the individual speaker and kind of what's happening with the lighting. But the majority of the time, we're finding ourselves a little bit closer to the T4 on the 30-300 and around the same place on the 17-120.
And so you choose that. You get the shower depth of field. Yeah. You're still at a safe. You're not wide open, so it focuses.
It's a little easier to focus. The camera guys definitely, the camera ops definitely appreciate being a little closer to the 4 than the 2.4.
Mm-hmm. So what was your choice of going with a cinema style camera for the show versus traditional broadcast cameras with, studio cameras, or, what was your inspiration for that? Because you were specifically looking for the cinema look.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big part of it is in a small theater like the one that we have, a big broadcast camera and a gigantic box lens really sticks out, kind of in the audience. We wanted a little bit more intimate style out there, and then also, you just get a little bit different quality of footage from a cinema style camera. We're TED shoots everything in 23:9:8, so we're working exclusively in film frame rates.
Exactly.
I think one of the reasons is definitely that film look, but there's also some technical reasons to work in that frame rate. It makes it easy to flip things up for PAL and on the back end to be able to work at 23:9. Of course, the savings in the storage as well is a big thing. Right. But being able to work with those cinema style cameras, especially the way that we have them kitted out with the RE follow focuses, the Antoine Bauer micro forces, it just lets the cam ops work in a way that's very comfortable for them, and I think that, it helps us really get some fantastic.
So you're a full-blown Cine Style, because I haven't been back since you deployed. Yeah. So you're full-blown with Cine Style controls.
Very much so.
Wow, that's impressive.
Very much so.
Wow.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the theater. Give us a general map of it. And How is it lit? How large is the space?
Sure. Yeah, it's like I said, it's about 185 seats in the theater, and it occupies the 11th and 12th floor of a building, and it's fairly narrow, and there's a bit of a steep rake up the seating as well. So lighting, it can be a bit of a challenge, you know. Where I'm very fortunate that we have some extremely talented lighting directors that come in and work with us, but we do it with kind of a minimal amount of lighting, and you know, the idea is we want to keep the lights out of the speaker's eyes. We want them to be able to see the people that they're talking to and be able to make.
Not like this.
Yeah, no, this is not bad actually. But you know, we want them to really be able to make the connection to the people that they're talking to. It's everything that we do from a technical standpoint in the theater is really to elevate the level of the speaker's performance, and you know, we want to make it the most comfortable experience for them. So that was one of the things that we were really interested in with the VariCams and the I don't know if I'm getting ahead in our agenda here, but with the dual native ISO, really made it a little bit easier for us to keep the lights out of the speaker's eyes, but still be able to get enough exposure to be able to have the right shots.
All right, so talking about ISO, where are you shooting?
We are at the 5,000 base.
5,000 base.
And then we're bringing it right down to 1250. It's just enough.
Yep. So now you're actually minus 12 dB.
Yeah.
It's super clean.
Very clean.
I mean, the
very,
camera's
very
clean
low
at
noise.
you know, native, but you're actually going minus dB. We traditionally did in video.
Yeah.
So it's really clean.
Yeah.
And you're doing a baked-in look.
Yep, that's right.
And you're shading the cameras like you would a studio camera. So you're using the matrix.
We are. Yep.
So you created your own look.
Yep.
How did that work for you? Was it?
It was a pretty easy process, yeah. I mean, you know, of course, Barry was a huge help in you know, kind of getting me oriented inside of the camera, and you know, where I should be looking to make the changes that I want to make. But yes, that was another thing that really attracted me, you know, from an engineering standpoint to the VariCam, as opposed to some of the other large sensor cameras that we had in our shootout and had experimented with in the past. Is the very, very full color grading options that are available to you. You know, you have phase and saturation for every different color, and so it made it a lot easier for me to chip the cameras, which was a big help, especially because we're in addition to the 3 LTs, we are using a number of Panasonic PTZ cameras, and so having that kind of deeper color matrix available made it a lot easier for me
across the board
to get a better match across the board between all of the cameras.
Yes. I came there to help them out. We were making the Chromadamont meatballs together. So
we sure did. We made a bunch of them.
My friend from making the meatballs.
Yeah.
You picked it up like that. You were like excellent. You bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And that was
It was fun. It was fun.
So you're using sort of Cineservo style lenses. What stop are you usually shooting at, and what focal lengths are you?
Yeah, talking about that. It was a T4.
Yeah, generally a little closer to the T4 side. You know, it doesn't. I try to you know. The first thing that I'll do is ask for a little bit more light on the stage, because like I said, once you get wide open on those, it gets a little tricky to find the focus when you're full open on them. But generally, you know, we're right around a T4, which is where we want to be able to get that depth of field.
So talking about focus, are you using our focus tools? We have the focus squares, we have expand, we have the focus and color. Are you utilizing any of those tools?
Not particularly, no. You know, it's I'm again very lucky to work with incredibly skilled camera operators. Where really I'm just kind of keeping one eye on the confidence monitor just to keep those guys honest.
So I'm just curious, you're sitting cine style in the beginning. Do you tape and mark the lenses in the distance? Do they do it? They just do it by eye. Wow.
We're doing everything by eye. I mean, you know, we'll check the back focus and make sure everything's good to go.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah, we're kind of doing all.
That's a good crew.
Yeah. It's a really tight crew, and everybody, all the cam ops, you know, myself and even our video director, she's got a great eye, great eye for focus.
And what are you using? Are you using the viewfinders on the camera? Are you using the onboard monitors? What are you?
We're using just some. Just regular old small HDs.
Small HDs, yeah, and they're pretty sharp.
They're
so you
pretty
get a nice
sharp.
Little 1080, and you can pull a nice sharp image from
it.
Yeah,
they're pretty sharp. We did demo the large Panasonic monitor too.
Yeah.
And they look fantastic.
Yeah,
but they're a little big.
Yeah, it's too big
for our
you
use
want to
case,
keep it low key, and
you know,
I get it totally. Fit the environment.
So with the PTZs, how are you using them?
Well, the general camera setup that we're going to see, you know, Ted has what the editors refer to as the Holy Trinity. You've got camera 1 is your close-up, you've got camera 2, which is your stage wide, and then camera 3, which is usually, you know, sort of cowboy, and then you know, with the amount of graphics that we do in the theater, we have a monitor on the stage. So camera 3 usually captures that speaker and graphics shot.
You're getting the shallow depth of field.
And we're getting the shallow depth of field there. And then what we're doing with the PTZ cameras is we use one as an over the shoulder, so it's sort of hidden back in our set and shoots kind of over the shoulder to get those really great audience reaction shots.
So you do get the audience shots. We were asking about that. We were discussing before about, do you get audience shots?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We get a lot of those with the PTZs. Although camera 3 will sometimes, we do have it on wheels, so it'll kind of dolly over, you know, to get that sort of half and half stage and audience shot that our director absolutely loves.
So you're doing the live switch.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're streaming live.
Streaming live.
To a select group.
Yep.
And then you're recording the program.
Yep.
You're recording ISO.
Yep.
And you're recording ISO in each camera?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So we do 8 individual records for every shoot that we do. So we're doing cameras 1 through 6. That's the 3 VariCams and the 3 PTZs to key pros.
Right.
We also do our program mix to a key pro and a graphics mix to a key pro.
So you're recording the VariCams externally and internally.
That's correct. Yeah. If there's a record button to press, I press the record button.
Safety first.
That's right. Safety first. Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
I'm just curious. You know, you've compared files. You're using internally. What are you recording to? ABC Ultra.
422.
422. In 4K, or are you shooting
standard? 1080.
You're shooting 1080.
Yep.
And are you using intra-codec compression technology? Are you using ProRes?
ProRes.
You are, because you have that ProRes workflow.
Yeah, that's
right.
the
whole
that's
files.
right. Yeah,
right.
the whole workflow in the post-production process is all 422 standard.
Right.
And the expectation from the editors is, you know, what they're going to get delivered is what they can start editing.
Exactly.
You know, so they do a large amount of really creative editing for the shots, but they're doing very little technical editing. They're really not doing any post-production coloring or shading or color.
So this is a great application. We always promote our own compressing technologies. Acquisition, it's really, really good. However, sometimes you need ProRes because you have all these other devices. You can't stop mixing and matching files. The editor's going to yell at you. So now in this environment, hey, we got ProRes in here, and we have every flavor of ProRes, all the way from LT to the XQ, the highest one. So you just choose the one you want, and you're able to do that. That's really very useful. That's great to show that application. You know?
So, are you guys all familiar with Cinelive with the VariCam LT? You are? Okay. Does anyone have any?
We have somebody that does it, so I'll explain it to you really quick. We have a cinema camera, and with our software built into the camera, that is no additional cost. We plug in an RCP controller, our HEP 1000, and it becomes a full-blown studio camera with all the handles, all the controls. We have return video, we have tally lights, we have gen lock, we have, if you're put on fiber sticks, you can have communication. You have full paint control remotely. I can do start and stop from the control room. I can even send them a call command. Andrew, wake up, Andrew. I'm flashing them. So all the bells and whistles we have in a studio camera, we actually have in this camera. And it's really cool. Even with the ISO, the recording, I can start it in a control room. I get a red tally light knowing I'm recording. So Andrew's operating. Keep your hands off the buttons. You just stare, make a pretty picture. I'll handle recording, so I can actually control those things, everything from the control room. So it's actually really quite elegant, quite nice. And we do it have 2 of them set up here on the floor that you can see.
So does anyone have any questions for either Barry or Andrew? Let me give you the mic.
record too.
So Andrew was explaining. So he's actually redundant like me. He's a safety nut. So he records in camera, ISO, because it's a camcorder. It records everything from 4K down to 1080. For the show, they're doing 1080. And then he's recording the feed that goes out. He's recording that externally. And then that's going out through a switcher being streamed. Are you recording the switcher output too?
Oh, yeah.
So he's got 3 recordings. He's recording in camera?
PP2 Express.
So we're Express P2 cards in camera. That's our file format that we use, our cards. Externally, he's recording Aja
Key Pros.
Yep. Yeah. So it's a very simple, very elegant workflow.
What's been the general reaction of the look of the show since you switched?
Everybody's really happy. I've been getting a lot of really great feedback from the editors, and just the ability that the camera gives me to be able to engineer it to look. I get some feedback from the editors. Hey, can you well, actually looking a little bit crushed. Let's pull that back. You know, so that's the type of feedback that I usually hear, and it's very simple for me to go into the camera using the using the RPU as well to make those changes.
And you're in a very controlled environment, so you don't really do the live shading that you can do. You just build your look.
That's right.
With the chroma demont and your matrix and color and your hands off. It's like, guys, don't touch anything.
Yep.
This is our look, and it's our film stock basically.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We are doing very little changes, if any, to anything in the color matrix once we begin to shoot, or even really once we finish rehearsals.
Right.
You know, generally for our events, you know, we'll have a rehearsal day the day before, and in addition to, you know, being a speaker rehearsal, it's our technical run through as well.
Right.
So we get a chance to really lock in all, you know, we know all the lighting cues, all the lighting colors and everything have been set. So, you know, at that point, I've made any necessary changes.
So when it comes showtime, press the buttons and go.
That's right, and we just need to worry about shooting. We don't need to worry about fooling around with the color.
Yeah, one thing we did during setup is we actually built the matrix under the lighting that they use. One thing I've learned going out on many demos is I used to make my chroma demont chart. I would make my perfect color meatball in the lab. I call it a meatball because it looks like a meatball on the scope, so we call making a meatball. And you go round and round, you shape and you finagle until you get the perfect place with very little values added. And I find I would do that in the traditional days, and it would look great, and I go out and look great. Well, now we go out into these environments with LED lighting. It's a whole different ballgame. I look at the scope on my meatball, it's now a squished egg. Like, what happened? And I call up my friends, like, hey, do you ever do these things and everything turns green and yellow? Oh yeah, all the time. It's, you know, LED lighting. So I learned now to do my meatballs. I get there early when I do a demo, and I'll actually create that look on set, and I make the nice thing, and it looks beautiful, and I have to start dialing out green and to compensate for the lights. So it's a challenge, but it works really well. It's
Any other questions?
what kind of lighting is you have?
That's a really great question, and lighting is not my strong suit. But it's generally lit. You know, there's a number of different washes and keys and fills, and
But they are LEDs.
They're absolutely LEDs. I think just about everything is ETC.
Yeah, but they have a high CRI ATC. They make great products.
Yeah.
And they're really, really color accurate. And I think they're either you get a 3,000 degree or there is a it's 5,000 degrees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Generally the
You're at the 3,000?
generally the white point that they set up is right around 4,000.
4,000, okay.
4,000,
Yeah.
4,100.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, it's always an interesting sort of push and pull there between the, you know, there's environmental lighting too, you know, in the theater that often we have to worry about as well. And you know, like I said, we've got some really good LDs that know their stuff, and you know, they can.
You brought an LD in when we were doing our second demo. When he called me back and said, "Can you get here?" And you know, and I magically appeared. And yeah, we went through it, and we were playing with colors, and he was tweaking the lights to your liking. It was really actually a nice process. You know, that was cool.
All right, we'd like to thank you for coming. Andrew, where can we watch these videos?
TED.com.
TED.com.
Hey, that was easy. How do you spell that? I'm kidding.
If you get a chance, please visit the other side of the booth. We have a CineLive set up in the darkroom, correct?
Yes, we do. And we have one in the dark and the studio set with the HDR mode. It's stunning if you haven't seen it. You're going to love HDR. It's really cool. And we can switch it on and off with a push of a button. So if you have an HDR workflow, I'm hoping you'll have an HDR workflow because you're going to get very excited about it. It's really cool stuff to check out. It's the future.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, folks.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Andrew.